Hi, welcome to the affordability demo. The affordability tool is designed to help you categorize and analyze 90-day transaction histories. In this example, we'll be looking at processing a loan application for a personal loan. So it starts by providing the 3 bank statements that contain your past 3 months transaction histories. They get uploaded to the server and the transactions get extracted out of them. You get a little summary information here saying there are 26 transactions in that PDF, 24 in the other ones, and this is the date range that they span, and that's the account holder and address that came in that statement. Below here you will see all the transactions that were in there, the date, the description, the amount, the balance. And we'll now go through and tag each one of these transactions according to a list of categories that we find up here. So all the income, that's all the positive values, is this line here, salary. If you hover over it, you'll see a pop-up giving you the full text of what this abbreviated thing means. So that would be rental income, this would be pension income, any commissions if you're a salesman. All of those are the positive numbers. And by the way, there's an uncategorized number at the end of every category. So for example, if we're looking at this, which is communication, cell phone prepaid, if it's some sort of uncategorized communication expense, then you can use this little one at the end with a question mark. Uncategorized entertainment other, for example. So the way it works, let's start with salary. The user interface to this is you can arrange by any field you like. So if we're looking for income, if you arrange in descending order, all the positive numbers will appear at the top, and you can pick off the salary amounts that happened in January, February and March. And this, for example, is actually some form of repayment, so I wouldn't tag that as salary. If I wanted to categorize every single line, I might say that that was some form of other income or a transfer, but for now I'm going to just categorize it like that. The way this interface works is if you tag it, it kind of toggles every time you click, and you can also do things like this, which will search based on the description and narrow down all of the transactions to ones that have direct debit in the list. You can then go ahead and let's take all of this as, let's assume that that is just rent expenses, which it isn't, but for the purposes of this demo, that's what this button does. It just sets all of the ones that match this filter to what you've currently set it on above. If you were to, if some of them were set and others weren't, that would toggle, the ons would go off and the offs would go on. If you clear the filter, you'll go back to the original list. I'm not going to tag them all now, but I'm just going to show you what this summary is. This helps you keep track of how much work you have remaining. So if your goal was to tag every single transaction here, then this will give you a count. There's 66 transactions, of which you've currently tagged, in other words colored, one of the 27 of the transactions, which is nearly 41%. Now that's just based on the total number of transactions, 66 transactions. If you were to switch it to amount, you would see that whilst we only have done about 41% of the volume of transactions, they account for, probably 60% of the amount by value. So there's a lot of much smaller transactions left. As those are being filled out, the assessment is being added up according to what you've tagged. So, in January there was a monthly income of 42 grand. in February another 42 grand, in March a slightly different 42 grand amount. Expenses, this is the sum of all of the expenses in this list that are defined by the Act as being expenses that you can count on as regular expenses. They, in other words, are obligatory expenses that must be deducted as being part of your living expenses. Now, expenses can actually be determined according to the Act in 3 ways. One is you can go through a process like this of, at a fine level, actually making sense of each transaction and attributing it to a certain category and saying, yes, that is rental income, that does count as an obligatory expense. That's what this calculated number is. But you can also apply a living expenses formula. And the Act defines a table, which is a kind of bracket-based system where you say, what income did I receive in the month? 42 grand. Where does that fit in these brackets between the minimum and the maximum? It fits in this range from 25 to 50 grand. There is a base for this bracket of 2.855 grand for the base, plus 8.2% of anything, any amount of income that is above that base. So in other words, your 42 grand minus the base of 25 grand times 8.2%. That gives you a calculation of, according to the minimum expenses norms calculation, of 4.265 grand of expense. So that's the second of the 2 ways of deriving expense, is a formula based on income. And the calculated expense we saw, which came from the table above. And then there's also, typically in all lending applications, you ask the applicant what their stated living expenses are. So in this case, let's say they said they earned, that they spend on average 3 grand per month. Now, what this table then allows you to do is go, which of those 3 are we going to use? Obviously, we're going to want to use the highest of those numbers. The minimum, the formula said, okay, it's 4.2 grand. By asking the applicant, they said they spend 3 grand a month, and from what we actually tagged, it's closer to 26 grand a month of expenses. So let's use that highest number there, the 26 grand. So the full formula will then be income in each month, less expenses, less any loan repayments. I'll just put one of those in quickly. That would be, let's say you had a vehicle loan, so that's a form of debt. There's the vehicle loan, and let's just tag one of these here. Let's say I'm spending 800 rand a month repaying a car loan. And maintenance, again, it's part of the National Credit Act for a personal loan. If you are paying spousal maintenance, for example, it would be this one, which is dependents. That one, I believe, is spousal maintenance. So let's just tag a few more of these in here as spousal payments. No, not that one. So here we have now some maintenance payments in that month, summing up to nearly 7 grand a month. So the calculation there would be income less expense, less current loan repayments, less your maintenance payments. Gives you a discretionary income, what's left, of 8.7 grand. The new loan that this applicant is applying for, let's say that was 5 grand a month, would be the repayments on that loan. In that case, there's sufficient discretionary income to pay that loan. So the decision in this case would be yes, and likewise for the 2 months after that. So in this case, this would be a legitimate loan application. Final pieces of information. This isn't fully categorized. What you can do is save that to a file, and what I'll then show you is what this looks like if we load one that has been filled out completely. You can also save it as a CSV, by the way. The CSV is just going to save this data here, the date, description, amount, balance, and then the tag that you've applied, the tag in the category. But the JSON file that can actually load, so what I'll just do is, so I'll just show you what, it looks like if it's completed. This is a JSON file I've saved previously, so it had those actually the same PDFs in it, and then this is what the complete sort of pie chart looks like with all transactions saved.